Tunde watched the battle carefully. His men were brave, but their weapons were useless against the stone warriors. He noticed something strange, though. The stone warriors moved slowly, only reacting when directly attacked. They were powerful but not clever. An idea sparked in his mind. "Stop attacking!" Tunde shouted to his men. "Let them come to us." Confused, his warriors stepped back, lowering their weapons. As the stone figures approached, Tunde and his warriors began to spread out, moving in different directions. The stone warriors tried to follow but became disoriented by the movement. Slowly but surely, they stumbled into each other, their heavy stone bodies crashing together. One by one, they crumbled into piles of rubble. Tunde smiled, relieved that his plan had worked. After defeating the stone warriors, Tunde and his men came to a wide, rushing river. The water was dark and swift, and there was no bridge in sight. As they stood on the riverbank, a shimmering figure rose from the water, a spirit with flowing hair and eyes like the moon. It was the spirit of the river. "You seek to cross," the spirit said, her voice like the sound of rushing water. "But first, you must answer my riddle." Tunde nodded, ready for the challenge. The spirit smiled and asked, "What can fill a room but takes up no space?" Tunde thought carefully. The answer wasn't something physical. Then, it dawned on him. "Light," he answered. The spirit's eyes sparkled with approval. "You may cross," she said, and the river's current slowed, allowing them to wade through safely. As Tunde and his men crossed the river, the jealous witch grew angrier. She had hoped the river spirit would stop them, but now they were getting closer to the sacred drum. In a fit of rage, she cast a powerful spell, creating an illusion to lead them astray. The forest around Tunde suddenly changed. The trees grew taller, and strange paths appeared before him. Every direction looked the same. His men began to panic, unsure of which way to go. Tunde, too, felt a wave of confusion. He had no idea how to find the real path. Then, he remembered his great-grandfather's words, "Trust your heart, not your eyes." Taking a deep breath, Tunde closed his eyes and listened to the sounds of the forest. He could hear the faint drumbeat of the sacred drum in the distance, guiding him forward. "Follow me," he said, and with his eyes closed, he led his men through the witch's illusion. After breaking through the witch's illusion, Tunde and his men entered a strange part of the forest where every sound echoed endlessly. The trees whispered their footsteps back at them, and the air seemed to hum with noise. It was unnerving, and some of Tunde's men began to grow anxious. Suddenly, a voice echoed through the trees, louder than the rest. "Who are you? Why do you disturb the silence of the forest?" Tunde looked around but saw no one. He called out, "I am Prince Tunde, and I seek the sacred drum of Ijibu to save my wife." The voice responded, "If you wish to pass, you must leave behind something precious." Tunde hesitated. He had little to offer, but then he remembered the golden necklace around his neck, a gift from his father. With a heavy heart, he removed it and placed it on the ground. The voice was silent, and the path cleared. Tunde's sacrifice had been accepted. As they approached the heart of the evil forest, Tunde and his men could feel the power of the sacred drum. The air was thick with magic, and the ground beneath their feet seemed to hum with energy. In the distance, they could see the drum, large and ancient, resting on a pedestal made of stone. But between them and the drum stood three fierce guardians. They were tall, muscular figures with glowing eyes, each wielding a large spear. Their presence was intimidating, and Tunde knew that they would not let him pass easily. The first guardian stepped forward, his voice deep and booming. "To claim the sacred drum, you must prove your strength. Fight me, and if you win, you may continue." Tunde had no choice. He gripped his sword and prepared to face the challenge ahead. The first guardian charged at Tunde, his spear aimed at Tunde's chest. Tunde dodged to the side, barely avoiding the blow. The guardian was fast and strong, but Tunde was quick on his feet. He knew that he couldn't win by matching the guardian's strength, so he had to outsmart him. Tunde circled around, waiting for the right moment. When the guardian lunged again, Tunde ducked low and swung his sword, striking the back of the guardian's leg. The guardian stumbled, giving Tunde the opening he needed. With one swift move, he disarmed the guardian and knocked him to the ground. The first guardian smiled, impressed by Tunde's skill. "You have proven your strength," he said. "You may continue." The second guardian stepped forward, his eyes glowing with intelligence. "You have shown your strength, but now you must prove your wisdom. Answer my riddle, and you may pass." Tunde nodded, ready for the challenge. The guardian asked, "I am taken from a mine and shut up in a wooden case, from which I am never released, and yet I am used by almost every person. What am I?" Tunde thought hard. It was a difficult riddle, but after a moment, he realized the answer. "A pencil," he said. The guardian's eyes sparkled, and he stepped aside. "You are wise," he said. "You may continue." The third and final guardian stepped forward. His face was calm, but there was a deep sadness in his eyes. "To claim the sacred drum, you must pass one final test," he said. "But this test is not of strength or wisdom. It is a test of the heart." Tunde felt a knot in his stomach. He had faced many challenges, but this one felt different. The guardian continued, "You must give up something dear to you, something that matters most in your heart. Only then will you be worthy of the sacred drum." Tunde's mind raced. What could he give up? His heart ached as he thought of Queen Ronke. Would he have to give up his love for her to save her? Tunde knelt before the final guardian, his heart heavy with the weight of the decision. He had come so far, faced so many trials, but now he was being asked to give up something he loved most. It seemed impossible. Then, a thought came to him. The most precious thing in his heart was his love for Ronke. Without her, his life would feel empty, but perhaps love itself was the key. Tunde stood up and spoke clearly, "I am willing to sacrifice my love for Ronke, if that is what it takes to save her." The guardian's eyes softened. "It is not your love that you must give up," he said gently. "It is your fear of losing it. Love cannot be possessed or controlled. By letting go of your fear, you have passed the test." With the final test behind him, Tunde stepped forward and approached the sacred drum. The drum was larger than he had imagined, covered in intricate carvings that told the story of ancient kings and forgotten battles. It seemed to pulse with energy, as though it were alive. Tunde placed his hands on the drum, and a warmth spread through his body. He could feel the magic within it, and he knew that this was the cure for Ronke. But as he touched the drum, a vision flashed before his eyes, images of his ancestors, and a secret about his own lineage that had been hidden from him. In the vision, Tunde saw his great-grandfather, Oba Adeyemi, standing before him. "There is something you must know, Tunde," he said. "You are not only a prince of this land. You are also descended from the Iwin, the very spirits that guard the sacred drum." Tunde was shocked. How could this be? Oba Adeyemi continued, "Your mother was half Iwin. That is why you have been able to pass the test of the forest. The blood of the spirits runs in your veins." Tunde's mind swelled with the revelation. He had always felt different, but now he understood why. His connection to the forest was deeper than he had ever known. As Tunde absorbed the truth about his lineage, the jealous witch sensed that he was close to victory. Desperate, she unleashed her most powerful spell yet, a storm of dark magic that tore through the forest, uprooting trees and sending bolts of lightning crashing down around him. Tunde grabbed the sacred drum and ran, his heart pounding in his chest. The witch's magic was strong, but Tunde knew that his connection to the Iwin gave him power, too. He would not let the witch win. With the drum in hand, he called upon the spirits of the forest to help him. As Ton ran, the Awen appeared around him, their glowing eyes watching over him. They could see that he was one of them, and they answered his call. The forest came alive with energy, and the trees themselves seemed to bend and twist, blocking the witch's magic from reaching Tunde. The witch screamed in frustration, her power unable to break through the forest defenses. Tunde pressed on, determined to reach the palace and save Ronke. The Awen guided him through the forest, clearing a path for him to escape. Tunde raced through the forest, the sacred drum held tightly in his hands. He could feel the magic of the drum pulsing through him, but he knew that time was running out. Ronke's life hung in the balance, and every moment counted. The forest bled around him as he ran faster than he had ever run before. His heart pounded in his chest, and his breath came in short gasps. But he couldn't stop. Not now. Not when he was so close. At last, Tunde burst out of the forest and into the open plains. The palace stood in the distance, its golden towers gleaming in the sunlight. Tunde's men followed close behind, but Tunde didn't wait for them. He sprinted towards the palace, the sacred drum clutched in his arms. As he reached the palace gates, the guards let him through without question. He rushed to the royal chambers, where Ronke lay still, her breathing weak. The healer looked up as Tunde entered, his eyes filled with hope. Tunde placed the sacred drum on the ground and, following the instructions passed down through his ancestors, began to beat it with steady, rhythmic strokes. The sound of the drum filled the air, a deep, resonant pulse that seemed to echo through the palace walls. As the sound of the drum reached Ronke, her eyes fluttered open, and the dark poison began to fade from her veins. The magic of the drum was working. Slowly, color returned to her cheeks, and her breathing became steady and strong. Tunde's heart swelled with relief. She was going to be all right. Far away in her dark lair, the witch felt her power slip away as the sacred drum healed Ronke. She had been defeated. Furious and humiliated, she cursed the day she had ever dared to challenge Prince Tunde. Her magic, once so strong, faded, and the forest that she had tried to control rejected her. She was banished, her name forgotten in the mist of time. Tunde, however, had no time to think of the witch. His mind was solely on Ronke, and the joy of having her back. The witch's defeat was a victory, but saving Ronke was the greatest triumph of all. With Ronke fully recovered, Tunde could finally breathe easily. The trials of the evil forest were behind him, but the truth about his lineage still weighed on his mind. He was part Awen, part of the spirits that protected the sacred drum. It was a secret he would have to carry, but it made him stronger. Ronke smiled up at him, her hand in his. "You saved me," she whispered. Tunde smiled back, his heart full of love. "I would have done anything for you," he said softly. Together, they looked toward the future, knowing that their bond was stronger than ever. Tunde's quest to save Ronke had changed him. He had faced unimaginable dangers, solved riddles, and uncovered the truth about his past. But more than that, he had proven that love, wisdom, and courage could overcome even the darkest magic. The sacred drum of Ijibu was returned to its rightful place, where it would remain a symbol of the ancient magic that protected their land. Tunde's journey would be remembered for generations, a tale of bravery and love, and a reminder that even the most powerful enemies could be defeated with the strength of the heart. As Tunde and Ronke stood together, watching the sun set over their kingdom, they knew that no matter what challenges the future might bring, they would face them together, with the same courage and love that had guided them through the darkest of times.